Why do you feel the way that you feel? Why are you always feeling off? Something is off. In this video, I'm going to share with you, we're going to break down all the different types of triggers. Having these triggering energies come up, whether they're small or they're bigger or they're consistent, right? We can have so many different types of triggers. And I think the more that we understand the way that we are built and what's coming up to the surface, the more that we can understand that these are simply signals and that we can actually work through these signals. They don't need to be burdens. They don't need to be this thing that lasts all day. It doesn't need to be something that's like, oh, like I just, now I have this trigger. It's like, no, we can actually work through it. We can clear it from our field. And then we're not only done with it, we've actually cleared an imprint on a deep layer that will actually help us to attract the things that we desire in our life. Because the more that we lift off these weights that are holding us down and keeping us stuck, the more that we're going to be able to bring in what we desire to come through. Triggers come in all different shapes and sizes, right? We've got the big triggers. We've got the ones that come out of nowhere and they're like, "Wah!" The shock triggers, the ones that are like we have that shock energy. Sometimes they wake us up in the middle of the night. We also have the little whispers, you're not good enough. You suck. Whatever the little whispers are trying to tell you. Of course, it's not a funny matter, but yeah, and then we've got the coaster, right? The one that's kind of permanently in your field. That one I would say is probably one of the more quote unquote dangerous ones. And I don't mean because it's actually dangerous, but because it's invisible to our eye, right? The more that we become conscious, the more that we become aware of these internal signals, the more that we can work with what's happening, the more we can clear it from our field, and the more we can actually track what we desire. So not all triggers, I also want to share, are from trauma. Most of them are. Most triggers are from trauma because when you have a traumatic experience, say your example in a child, and you had a traumatic experience, you froze, you flighted, or you fought, or you suppressed, you are keeping that energy imprinted in your field. So eventually it has to bubble up because it wants to be seen, it wants to be heard, it wants to be acknowledged, right? And so what most people try to do is they try to pretend like it's not there. They try to suppress it. No, I'm feeling good today. Yeah, I'm totally fine. And meanwhile, like turmoil and like this energy is kind of like coming up and it's getting louder, it's getting louder, it's getting louder, and then kaboom, right? Pow. So we wanna really make sure that we're becoming super aware. And a trigger isn't from a trauma. We can also have things like cognitive dissonance, right? When our mind is trying to tell us to go one way, yet our soul is telling us to go another way, or someone else is trying to tell us to go this way, or logic, or like we've agreed to something. It's like, but we know we're meant to go this way. We know that it's our soul is guiding us this way, our intuition is guiding us this way, and yet we're not listening to it, right? That can create triggering energy, misalignment, right? If you're not aligned with your divine path, that will create this kind of consistent, lingering energy in your field that just feels off, like something feels off, and it'll get louder and it'll get louder and it'll get louder, right? When you're not being authentic, when you're not being truthful with who you are, your word, like that can also create triggering energy because authenticity is a magnet. It is a magnet for the right people to come through. It is a magnet for all the things that you desire to come into your life. And so when we're not being truthful with who we say or what we do, then that creates misaligned energy and that creates that resistance in our field. Triggers can also come from when we don't set proper boundaries, right? So if we are not setting proper this means healthy boundaries, right? When we set healthy boundaries, we voice into the field, this is what I ask, right? We're not trying to control it. We're not trying to force our opinions into someone else's field. We're not like you need to do this. Like that right there, that's a third dimensional energy. That's not how we want to place boundaries into the field. That's a forceful energy. Force is a third dimensional energy. It will always collapse. It's created from fear. It's created from lack. We want to have a boundary created from faith, which means I'm going to state what I ask, but I'm also not going to try to control it. And so that can also, if you're not creating any boundaries, that can create, or if you're creating them out of force, that can create resistance energy because it's a lower energy you're creating it with. Solar flares. This is a huge one, right? Solar flares. There's actually energy coming down from the sun and it's shooting out these energetic beams, pew, 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 right into your energetic field. And so they permeate into your energetic field and it brings up this internal stuff, all of the stuff that you haven't processed, right? These solar flares really started, I think, around 2017, 2018, and they started to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And this is why there's so many shifts that are happening in the world. The solar flares are no joke. Like they literally bring up so much of the unprocessed stuff. But the really good thing about them is that it's helping us to move through stuff, information, like a lot quicker. It's helping us to see truth a lot quicker in the world, right? Because truth could, the lie was out in the world a lot before. There was a lot of people who were deceiving, who were hiding behind masks, and with these solar flares, it's literally permeating through people's energetic fields where they can't lie anymore. Like we are seeing truth bubble up in Earth and like all of the things that are happening on the planet. And so this is also another reason why it's incredibly important to speak your truth. So if you hold things, secrets, in your field and you're not sharing them, that creates a block in your field, right? So we want to be able to express how we want to express, in a way that's not hurting others, but in a way that feels right when we're liberating ourselves from this contraction or this way um, you know, of feeling small. We're liberating ourselves from that. But we don't want to do it in a way that we're putting negative energy on other people because that just creates a karmic effect. Now, karma technically is no longer needed on this planet because if we have a certain level of forgiveness, we can actually alchemize karma. However, it's a lot easier, it's a lot harder said than done, right? So you really have to come to that place where you fully forgive that person and yourself. And that is a practice that you also have to learn. But it is possible. But still, you don't want to be placing negative energy on other people. It's not the energy that you want that's not how you handle properly a trigger, right? When you place negative energy on other people, you're not properly processing it yourself. And this is something that we definitely want to stay away from. I teach all about the abundance blueprint if you want to dive into that on my Zoom calls for free. And so this is all about mastering triggers, mastering that energy at the core. We go deep into all of the practices, also walking you through experiences so you can understand how to process it properly. Solar flares are really real because when they come through, it often feels like we have these off days, right? Like your entire day is just off. But here's the thing, you can actually shorten that as well. So you don't have to have this crazy long day. You can actually shorten it. It doesn't have to be that long. So if you process it properly, you allow the energy to move through you, you stay out of the mind, you feel, right? You're feeling, you're allowing the energy to move through you, you're staying in the mind, and you process it properly, it will always be replaced by something greater. So whatever is coming up, whatever is being removed, there's something new that wants to come in. That's why this trigger is happening. Because when we are calling in things that we desire, when we are wanting to upgrade our life, we have to let go of the things that no longer serve us. We have to let go of the blocks and the parts of ourselves that are heavy so we can let in more light. And this is exactly how you do it. So understanding all of the different types of triggers, and I think it's incredibly important too to add here is that the more that we label how we feel, the more that we're like, oh, today I feel like blank. It's like the more that we're labeling these things, the more it solidifies in our field. So we want to let go these labels. We want to let go thinking that it's bad to feel that way, right? Because as soon as you're already thinking, oh, I'm doing something wrong or something is off, or like it's like that right there, we want to watch how we think about it. Now, it's important, incredibly important to not be a fake positive, right? We don't want to be fake optimistic. We don't want to be fake positive in the world. We want to acknowledge how we feel. I acknowledge the feeling of anger. I acknowledge the feeling of feeling off, but we never want to say, I am feeling off, right? Because that solidifies that I am is such a powerful language. I M stands for I, ascended master, right? So you've already done it all. Yes, you. Yes, you're beautiful. But you've already done it all. And so we're just solidifying that more in our field. But when we say I am and then we put it with a negative word, that's such a powerful, powerful phrase. So instead, we want to say, I acknowledge the feeling of, and I surrender this feeling into the light of God or into source, like into whatever you want to call it. And that is a really great way, but also processing it through what I had shared earlier. Triggers are never something that's wrong with you. I think that it is incredibly important that we must reframe what triggers are, right? Triggers are more so an activation process, that one that if we actually learn how to process it properly, can bring in great things. It's an activation process. So it's not a negative thing, it's simply an activation. And reframing it is incredibly important. And yeah, so if you want to come check out that abundance blueprint for more details on all of how to actually walk through this process in real time, I'm more than happy to share that with you for free. So you can check that out in my bio.